Generative AI completely overshadowed everything else that Google has been known for. What are the top three announcements or new services that matter the most to developers?
There are some bits and pieces of that, but they were just not able to make it into the keynote because Gemini, rightly so, overshadowed a lot of the enhancements. So if you're looking for some of that, then they are there. It's just you have to dig into the spotlights to find those newer announcements in other areas.
We have chatbots, AI assistants, agents. How do you see agents, classic AI assistants, and what's new with the agent builder available on Vertex?
Great question. Okay. Demystify slowly here.
Will Gemini Cloud Assist replace DevOps and SREs and make them redundant? Hello everyone, welcome to Jani.tv. This is your host Janakiram. Today's guest is Priyanka from Google. She's a star evangelist for Google Cloud. If you are in the cloud ecosystem, I'm sure you'd have watched her videos, you would have read her book, and she has been on my show earlier. So Priyanka, great to have you back on my show.
Thank you so much for having me on the show again. It's always exciting to talk to you. And today, after Google Cloud Next, I'm even more excited to talk about new announcements.
Perfect. So Priyanka, the objective of this discussion is pretty simple. The number of announcements that came out of Google Cloud Next were just overwhelming. I was there in person watching Thomas Kurian's keynote and then Richard Serota's developer keynote the second day. And I think I was like, oh my God, how do I prioritize? What do I learn? What do I look at? What do I analyze? So since you are so good at articulating, demystifying technology, I want to use this opportunity to take your help in kind of letting the developers handpick some of the core technologies and announcements that came out of Google Cloud Next and focus on that. Because there have been like 600 announcements. So let's unpack some of them. And I'm going to ask you a few questions that will help my audiences and developers to basically get the focus and get deeper into some of those.
Sounds great. I know it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming for us to prepare as well. But we made so many advancements, so we needed to share everything. And each of them applies to different set of audiences. So I am excited for your questions so I can help uncover and sort of help demystify where one should focus.
Right. So first, let's talk about the day one keynote, by TK or Thomas Kurian. So my observation has been that Gen AI or generative AI completely overshadowed everything else that Google has been known for. Right? For example, I didn't see anything about Google Kubernetes Engine, which is one of my favorite products. I didn't get to hear anything about storage, no serverless. It was generative AI right from the get-go. So from those announcements, that came out on day one, what are the top three announcements or new services that matter the most to developers?
Yeah. So let me just answer the first part that you mentioned. Like, it was all about Gemini. There was less serverless. In the keynote, yes, we didn't have serverless and GKE. There was a mention of GKE in Hen's keynote, which was in the spotlight sessions, where there were announcements in those areas as well, where how we are optimizing GKE for ML workloads, and then new enhancements in serverless. One of my favorite ones was sort of teased in the developer keynote, where you can actually create from natural language create architecture diagrams. That was pretty cool. So there are some bits and pieces of that, but they were just not able to make it into the keynote because Gemini, rightly so, overshadowed a lot of the enhancements. So if you're looking for some of that, then they are there. It's just you have to dig into the spotlights to find those newer announcements in other areas. Okay, so coming to Keynote now. So key takeaways, if I was to summarize this, were, let's say, three key takeaways were Gemini 125 Pro in public preview. What that means is, and this was the announcement by Ashley Sundar in the very beginning, this is a big deal, dramatically enhanced performance, long context window, all context understanding, runs 1 million tokens of information, which is very helpful for building enterprise use cases. And then as I talk more into the third piece that I guess want people to take away from this, we'll talk about the enterprise use cases that Gemini 1.5 Pro focuses on. And this itself then leads you into the fact that why the keynote was all focused on Gemini, right? Because it is we are using Gemini 1.5 Pro and bringing it into all the different products and services that can help build the AI experiences for customers. So that's number one, Gemini 1.5 Pro in public preview. Now, the second one is the generative AI agents. Okay? It's the most powerful way to adopt AI in enterprises, which is why the keynote was, if you noticed, structured around the 6 different agents, and the demos were also 6 different agents. And it was done in that way because enterprise use cases, there's the part of AI which is like you just need to learn and understand, and some of us are in that category. But then for enterprises to adopt AI, you are going to mainly do that through agents. You are going to take a model, utilize it or adapt it, modify it, fine-tune it to your use case, and then you'll chain some of those models or responses with each other to deliver an output that your business needs. And that is the idea of agents, right? So we talked about customer agents, employee agents, creative agents, and data and code and security agents. Those are the 6 that we sort of created and showcased, but there's a lot more agents that this was to give an idea of what you can think of when it comes to agents. This is how we are thinking about it. And then the third piece, which is to take away, is that end-to-end path. There's the AI hypercomputer infrastructure where we made a bunch of announcements on the optimized chips for AI. And then on top of that is the Gemini models. And this includes the foundational model, which is the Gemini 1.5 Pro and the advanced reasoning skills. Then the layer on top of it, which is the Vertex AI layer, which is where you deploy custom models if you end up customizing them, but which is also where you create agents and deploy them. And then the last, which is on the top of all of this infrastructure and stack, is the Gemini for Google Cloud, which is the purpose-built agent for cloud users, and Gemini Code Assist, which is also part of the same family, purpose-built agent built on top of this infrastructure for developers. And then for Workspace, similarly purpose-built for Docs, Gmail, and Meet. So you can think about your agent also on top of this infrastructure in the same family of agents that we built for Google Cloud Workspace and of the likes, right? So those are the 3 main things that I would say were announced from the main keynote. If you take away just this, you've sort of understood what the whole theme was about.
Excellent. So to summarize, it is Gemini 1.5 with 1 million token context length. And then it's agents. Agents were everywhere that I have seen. And third is the entire stack that not only provides the ability of the first party agents delivered by Google, but the ability to build custom agents based on Vertex AI and some of the new tools powered by the AI hypercomputer sitting right at the bottom of the stack.
Yeah, exactly. And that is it. And now you can go deep into what's new in Vertex, what's new, because there are features and all of that. And I think we're going to get into some of that in this conversation. But even if we don't get to it, you can get deeper into like what are the chips that were announced, right? The partnership with NVIDIA. So things like that are more like deeper level announcements.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Very well put. I think those are the critical announcements and that are going to be like game changing both for Google and its ecosystem. Awesome. So, switching gears, the second day was all about developers, and I had the front row. I watched Richard Seroter and some of your colleagues go on stage and demonstrate generative UI, which was very fascinating. So, again, it was a little bit overwhelming because there were so many, and I love the theme of build, deploy, build, run, and operate. And I think everyone was structured around that. So if you can throw some light on that, and again distill in your own style, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah. So I can say day two, if you notice, was sort of a deeper dive from day one. So day one was just to set the stage about Gemini and how the infrastructure is setting everything is thinking everything in terms of how do we make it easy for you to implement AI. And here are the models and the ways to do that. Day two was to actually show you how all of those things can come together. So day two demos were all focused on developers and how a developer can take Gemini and implement it in different ways. So we talked about Gemini Code Assist, so there was a demo on Code Assist, then there was a demo on Cloud Assist, so how do you design, operate, optimize, and troubleshoot your applications. There was I think an announcement on App Hub, which was a tiny announcement, but it's such a big deal because it helps you introduce it's sort of an introduction of an application centric way to organize your resources in cloud to help you understand your resource interactions that support the business functions. And how is so big? It's just these announcements are overwhelming. But when you look at your own infrastructure, your own implementations, it can get overwhelming to see which resource is talking to which one and how are each of them talking to each other. You have these different applications, but how do they talk to the other applications? That is what App Hub is about. And with so many things, I know this could have been just like a thing that was announced. So I wanted to highlight that in this conversation. And then Gemini for the third thing, I guess, is the Gemini for Google Cloud, which includes the Code Assist, the Cloud Assist, which I just now talked about, which easily manages your application's lifecycle, security, Gemini in BigQuery, Gemini in Looker, in databases. So basically, this was also, again, to show the power of Gemini and how we are bringing that into each of our applications and products within Google Cloud. So the demo that I really, really liked from the dev keynote was this end-to-end agent that was built that was showing you, I think this was by Caslin, and she was showing how she created this end-to-end demo of an agent that is for an e-commerce application. And this e-commerce application is then, because you have to use Gemini and apply RAG to fine-tune and show and use the information about your product catalog and inventory to show how that furniture piece would look in your room. Like that is the power that was the reason for us to showcase that, was to show you how you can use Gemini to apply RAG and have the entire stack from she did it in GKE, so scalable infrastructure. On top of that, use Gemini for the model, and then transactional database, which was AlloyDB, where she was storing all the embeddings, and then all of that comes together in the front end there in Firebase and Spring in the application framework. So that was, I think, a very roundabout example of what you saw on day one and how it comes to life on day two.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the demo, the multimodal RAG, where they literally clicked the picture of Richard's dining room, uploaded that to the portal, and it suggested the furniture that fits in the room. That was a very realistic use case of a multimodal RAG pipeline. So awesome. So uh, now the other thing that's been a little confusing and a new terminology, and I want you to again demystify and help us understand. So we have chatbots,
Yeah.
and chatbots have been powered by Palm 2, and anyone could build. And then we have AI assistants, and now there are agents. So how do you see agents being different from chatbots or classic AI assistants, and particularly what's new with the agent builder available on Vertex?
Great question. Okay, so I think this has a few parts. So we'll demystify slowly here. So the major difference is obviously between chatbots and agents is the natural language processing with Gemini, which is in the foundational model. But if you take that natural language part of it out, the way I think chatbots and agents should be distinguished is chatbots are giving you transactional information. If you ask the question, they go back, find an answer, give you that answer. They're not going to do more than that, right? You need a human agent to actually go in and then change and get me a flight ticket, actually book me that option, book me a car with it, and then my transaction's done. But typically, chatbots aren't able to do that because, again, it requires training. It requires really good understanding of what the user is asking for, and then going back and doing those logical things, the business logic implementation, and then coming back. So
And
that
grounding, which
and
is
grounding them in your business use case, right? And with that data and history of the customer, all of those things. So that is where I think agents are distinguished. Now, going deeper into what I just said, goal-oriented versus rule-based. So I think we understand these terms better because of programming, right? So in programming, it's rules-based things like chatbots are pre-programmed for rules and decision trees. They are good at handling basic FAQ type questions, information retrieval type tasks, but they're not good at doing the thing for you. So that is where goal-oriented agents come into picture, which focus on understanding the intent and then help drive towards the specific goal. The example I gave around booking a flight, troubleshooting a problem that you're having. This makes them more dynamic, more capable, and then it handles more complex scenarios. And natural language obviously plays a huge and critical role in this aspect, but it's not the only thing that's driving an agent. It's the logic and the RAG and all of those things behind it. Then the second way we think about chatbots and agents to be different is actionability, right? So typical chatbots, they tend to focus on providing information better than directly, performing those actions. While the agents, I can connect an agent to a webhook, to a function, and then goes into my backend and then gets me the information about what these flights are. And then also once the user has, let's say, picked the options, it also can go and call the API to make that booking and then complete that task on user's behalf and then schedule, process, whatever it is that the user asked it to do. You could argue that chatbots can also do that with API calls, but it's very brittle, right? So if you think about it, it's brittle, it can break. There are so many points of failure that are possible with AI agents. That is sort of the distinction that's coming into play now. That also ease of creation. Now this is where I start to get into the agent builder platform right now. So typical chatbots often requires developers to design all these intricate flows, the conversation, the programs, the responses of each of the prompts that could come in. I remember like the very old versions of chatbots where it was literally just giving every question that you come in and every answer that you might want to respond with. Now, if you think about the ease of creation with like the AI and the agent builder, or just that agent builder, we have something called generative playbooks, which implement the React pattern. And React is ACT, right? This is a pattern with for reasoning and actions. So let me define this a little further. So now this is where the distinction starts to play between agents and chatbots. You give it a name, you give it the goal that you have with this agent. What is the task it needs to accomplish? It can accomplish, and then the instructions. You provide instructions like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say this agent is to order, handles order for shirts. You are ordering shirts, and this will handle all the orders for shirts. You provide a goal for that agent, and the goal would be something just natural language code, right? You want a shirt store ordering agent, and then you help customers purchase shirts. Help the customer choose the size and the color, and then you do say the shirts come in small, medium, large, and then the colors that we offer are red, green, and blue. All of this in natural language. And then you offer the instructions for that, to respond with for that goal. The instructions can be something like, if a customer has provided a size, ask them for a color. If they have provided color, ask them for a size. Once the customer has selected the size and the color, then repeat that selection if you want to buy another size and color, another shirt. Once they have confirmed that selection, then do test, then collect payment, then ask for the name, then ask for the address, all of those things. But then
sorry to interrupt. And all of this is written in plain English, just like a prompt.
Exactly. Just like the prompt, like you actually at this point are not, you don't need a developer at this point, right? A business logic person sitting in the front office can make some of these decisions of how your flow would work. Now there is some coding involved, right? But I'm not saying there's no coding involved, but at least the beginning of, and you can have your business folks make some of these decisions because they're great at it, right? They know what the user is going to ask for, and then you can leave the APIs and the backend integrations for getting all of these things accomplished, like the payments, the address, that the developers are going to be involved in creating those webhooks and all that. But I think that's extremely powerful when I talk about agents compared to the idea of these chatbots that are more brittle in nature.
Very well put. And I always love your explanation and the way you articulate. So is it fair to say chatbots are very synchronous and agents are more asynchronous, and they also talk to other agents and other systems to accomplish a goal instead of being a stateless one prompt, one response?
Exactly. Yeah. You definitely very well put. Very short and a nice explanation. Yeah.
So on the product side, I've been using Vertex AI search and conversation for a while, and I played with Dialogflow CX. So when I first heard about the agent builder on Vertex AI, I thought it's a brand new product. But when I actually logged on to my console, I realized it's a renaming of search and conversation. So can you explain what's the fundamental difference between those products and also the motivation behind renaming that?
Without getting into trouble, right? I think the renaming sort of better fits this concept of agents, because certain conversations was very much like, I think as the industry is progressing, the idea from conversation is moving to the agents, like I just described, how forward-looking that conversation is. I think it was limiting for the product to be named that. And so that is the reason I think we ended up renaming it, just mainly for the amount of use cases that it can handle.
Agree. You have been very correct in terms, politically correct, I would say. I understand the implications behind branding and all of that, but I do agree. Given the emphasis on agents, and I think it all came together. I spent some time building a couple of agents. I really love the concept of including tools and other agents into the instructions and making them talk to each other, and bringing Google search into grounding and enabling agents to do web search I think that's a very powerful concept. It definitely goes beyond Dialogflow CX, which was very heuristics based, rule based engine, to
Yeah.
more of a natural language based agent architecture.
Yeah. And you basically answered your own question with that.
Right. Okay. So, one more slightly controversial question. And this I hear from a lot of my clients, customers, and also community folks. So, Gemini Code Assist or Jet AI formerly and Gemini Cloud Assist, they are fantastic. Based on my personal experience, I'm able to accomplish a lot more as a developer, and I'm waiting to gain access to Cloud Assist and see how far I can take my DevOps journey with Cloud Assist. But the concern is, will Gemini Cloud Assist replace DevOps and SREs and make them redundant?
That is such a great question. I really don't think any of the AI solutions are going to make us redundant in any of the tracks. So I'm not even mentioning like DevOps or the ones that you just said. I think any of these, right? The code assist, I see here the same question, is it going to make developers less relevant? I don't think that is the case, and this is really my personal opinion. I think what's important here is to understand that this is purely productivity, right? At least right now, with the advancements that we are seeing in the maturity of the models, we are getting to a place where we are able to point out solid productivity numbers. And so we are all going to, from the DevOps perspective, from the developer perspective, from security, from being a data analyst perspective, we are just going to become a lot more productive so we can handle other more difficult and challenging tasks in the time that we save from getting this help. So I like to go back and give an example of search, for example. Search made us all very productive because of so much information that was available, and you couldn't find things easily. That is why search was helpful. It made us all very productive. I think it's going to be similar to that, which we are already seeing. It's you're able to ask cloud-related questions that even I don't know, and I spend day and night in cloud, right? Then these are questions about like that. If you are really deep into one area, you are likely not going to know about some other area deeply. So you're going to ask questions instead of going and reading documentation. That is extremely powerful in helping me not read through or not go through another sample, but getting these responses. So I really think it's productivity and making us more efficient than replacing.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you what I'm actually seeing.
Yeah.
See, the first generation of cloud was all about programmable infrastructure, right? You could consume the SDK and write code in Go or Python to perform a task. And then we had infrastructure as code, where you could create cloud deployment manager template or a Terraform template, and then just use that as a declarative mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my understanding is a lot of these tasks that we are doing through infrastructure as code would move into the cloud-based agents, where you can actually say, launch a auto scaling group in US Central, put them behind a load balancer, and just open this port. And create an application load balancer to expose this port. So basically, you give instructions to this agent in natural language, and behind the scenes, it turns that into a Terraform template or a cloud deployment manager, and then applies that. And that basically takes away the heavy lifting that a lot of DevOps engineers are doing today. But when we get to that point, a lot of mundane tasks and what a typical cloud ops engineer does is going to be delegated to this cloud assist agent. So if that is freed up, what else can a cloud ops engineer or a DevOps engineer can do?
I think that also feeds into. I see your point, but I'm still going to stick with the fact that don't we need very smart cloud ops engineers at that point? Because if the agents cannot solve this, solve whatever is going on. Yes, the easy things like, okay, do this, create behind the load balancer, create these instances, easy stuff, right? Simple things are always going to be easy or mundane tasks are always going to be easier. But then when you talk about complicated things, this thing broke. We don't have a lot of data for that stuff to actually train these models, right? And that's going to happen over time. So I think as the models mature, we as humans will also mature in our understanding of the infrastructure and the platforms. In this case, like why is there an issue and how to solve it? The model is likely not going to know that until there is data to train the model on that. Right? Why are fraud detection models hard to train? Because you have to do it with synthetic data, because you can't have like millions of data points and only one fraud, right? You can't use realistic data for that. So I think that is kind of what I think would happen. Mediocrity is going to, this is my view again, not talking on behalf of Google, but mediocrity, I think, is going to not, you just can't be, as a person who wants to grow, you can't be doing or working on a mediocre task that could become, or a mundane task that could become irrelevant, right? Because a model can do those things. So you'd always have to be on top of your game to learn and grow and learn new things so that you can expand into areas that just stay ahead of the models.
Absolutely. Yeah. Today, you're not just competing with your peers in the market, you're actually competing with fine-tuned models that precisely do what you are expected to do.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but my personal view, Priyanka, is there will be a day when Cloud Assist will clear the Google Cloud certified systems engineer exam. And it becomes so smart, it can crack that exam, with 95 plus score.
It did, actually. I don't think this at some point we sent this in a blog or something, that it was able to clear the professional architect exam.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. There we go.
There we go.
That is, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, now that brings me to another very interesting question. And this is something that I struggle with as well. When I look at the new ecosystem and the new whole universe that is rapidly evolving around generative AI, I'm actually getting lost and overwhelmed. There are a lot of folks who talk about the transformer architecture and the evolving infinite attention. For example, that Google launched recently, which is almost making the models limitless. There is no context window limit. So there is innovation happening at that level, all the way to highest level of RAG and agents. So if you actually look at it, there's almost like a parallel industry. Like we have databases, we have systems engineering, we have cloud, we have security. Gen AI itself is becoming a massive industry by itself. So if I'm a developer and I want to build a long-term career in generative AI, where should I start? What should I focus? Is it RAG? Is it fine-tuning? Is it agents? Where should I put my energy and time?
Yeah. Such a great question. I've written blogs about it and given a few talks in the last few months about this. And the answer is the infamous, it depends. So let me describe what it depends, right? So it depends on where you are in your understanding of generative AI. And I think it's extremely important to know all the terms so that whatever course you pick up after can then go into details. But what I mean by that is, if you already understand what models are, how they perform, the basic terminology such as tokens, and then use some model APIs to make something. You've gone through some labs to see how these things work. Then yes, dive into fine tuning and RAG. I don't think it's a good idea to jump into fine-tuning and RAG if you don't even know what some of these terms are. If you don't know what models are are existing, right? And just understanding things like there are models for image generation, models for text generation, natural language processing. But do you understand all of them? Have you played with one of each? Whoever the provider is, right? Irrespective of that, have you played with one of each? Do you understand the terms that are being used? What does the large context window mean? Just even if you don't even take a course, just sit and Google some of these terms. That is the starting point. And then you take a course in like beginning to learn what generative AI is, how these pieces fit together, what is transformer architecture, encoder, decoder, all of that stuff will start to make sense. You can argue that you could also just sit and Google each of these terms. If you just come up with terms and sit and Google, you will end up learning a lot just in that search session. But beyond that, once you are past that, then start looking into courses that you want to take. I saw you have some great videos that you've created, I watched one or two of those. They were extremely amazing. So maybe if you're
Thank you.
watching and you're on this channel, you should watch Janakiram's videos to learn generative AI. I absolutely enjoyed it. My team has created a lot of Gemini content for in terms of labs and demos that are on the Google Cloud Space Boost. Hands-on is the best way to learn. So once you have learned the terms, then pick a course. Don't worry, there are hundreds of courses. Don't worry about which one you're picking. Honestly, just pick one and stick with it. You'll
Exactly.
end up learning something out of that course, and then you'll increase your breadth. And then from there, you can say, okay, you know what? Now I want to learn fine tuning, and now I want to learn drag. Those are the use cases that's when you start to think about a use case that you want to apply AI to, and fine tuning and RAG will come into picture then. So you will naturally get there. Don't think about RAG and fine tuning from day one.
Very well put. I think putting that in a perspective, every developer should start with the API because it's the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit out there. Just go consume the API, figure out the use cases. In that process, get familiar with the terminology because you cannot be a Gen AI illiterate. You should be able to differentiate between a tokenizer and a vector and context. So get the basic terminology and then start peeling off the layers and go as deep as you can. I think that's what Priyanka actually mentioned. So start with the APIs and take one course, stick to it, because there are so many courses that are popping up every day on every platform. It's very tempting because that seems to be more exciting than what I'm currently going through. But avoid the temptation, stick to one course, start with the APIs, uncover the use cases, and then get familiar with the terminology.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much out there that it's very easy to get distracted, and that's the power of game chat, and also the not so good thing with the internet. It gets us distracted. I do sometimes miss books and get an actual
Absolutely.
curriculum, right? So yeah, that's why I think just pick a course and stick with it. You'll end up learning. There's no good or bad course. Honestly, if you don't know anything about it, you will end up learning something.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So, Priyanka, this has been a very, very helpful conversation. You demystified and unpacked a lot of stuff. I'm sure my audience are going to love this and they're going to learn a lot from this. So it's, again, wonderful to talk to you like always. Look forward to meeting you in person and possibly going on stage again in the future.
Yeah.
So thanks so much. And I'm going to have you back in another few months to see where we are in this generative AI journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.